Good evening, or I guess it's morning in Eastern Time, Ohio State fans. I'm Patrick Murphy, Steve Hellwagon here with me. We are at Ohio Stadium after Ohio State's 59-7 win against Akron this evening. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section. We will try and answer those if we can. Steve, it was a game against an Akron team that is very much a rebuilding MAC program. Not expected to contend for much. Statistically, they have not been good so far this season, even last year. It's hard to take a ton out of this game, but this was the best Buckeye performance we'd seen this season, just in terms of execution, things like that. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, no C.J. Stroud. We knew that coming in. Kyle McCord gets the start, plays the whole first half, plays, I think, the first series of the second half, and then Jack Miller takes over. What were your impressions of the two freshman quarterbacks who really played their first real snaps, and for Kyle McCord's case, his first experience in college football?
Yeah, I think that it was a bang-up performance by Kyle McCord. He got off to kind of a slow start, as we all know. This thing, he was high and wide on his first two passes, and they tried to have him throw a lateral to Chris Olave as well, and that went backwards beyond Olave and out of bounds. So really, his first series was very forgettable. They brought him over, they calmed him down, and sent him back out there, and the rest was pretty magical, I thought. In the second half, he did throw an interception, obviously. He got flushed, or he got a little bit flustered. There was some pressure coming up the middle, and he had some good pocket presence to move around a little bit to elude that pressure, stepped up in the pocket and tried to gun it in to Stover coming on a crossing route, and he just kind of overthrew him a little bit, and it went right to the Akron defender for an interception. And Ryan Day got on him a little bit because he didn't stay true to his fundamentals. I mean, it was a little tough situation and a good learning curve and a good learning moment, I think, for Kyle McCord. I think that this experience is going to benefit him so much, and I do believe they're going to go back to C.J. Stroud if he is available, if he's healthy, if he checks out. The way Ryan Day made it sound is they'll get over to the facility tomorrow. They'll have a practice tomorrow, and if C.J. is, feeling good, looking good, throwing the ball, then they'll begin preparation for Rutgers with him in mind as the quarterback. So it looks to me like that's where things will head. But don't discount McCord at all. I think this was fabulous to throw for 300 yards. I know it was against Akron, but let's temper our thought. I mean, this was Akron that he was playing against. This wasn't Minnesota. This wasn't Oregon. This wasn't Tulsa. I mean, this was a team that gave up 60 points to Auburn and 59 more here to Ohio State. So this was about the way that it should have gone, all things considered. But I think you got to be happy for his first time out of the box. And same for Jack Miller, who had played a little bit last year but had never thrown a pass. I think he was 5 of 8, it said, 66 yards,
Yep.
Not bad for him either. And
Almost had a touchdown.
Almost had a touchdown. And for an array of guys to get involved, I mean, Emeka Buka, first catch ever, 85-yard play. Man, got to get that ball. Sounds like to me, Marvin Harrison, 1 catch for 9 yards. G. Scott Jr., 1 catch for 12 yards. So a lot of guys got involved. Stover, 1 catch for 25 yards. That's great for him as well. So much to be excited about, at least offensively, I think, coming out of this game, and certainly defensively as well. By far their best defensive performance of the year. And again, against Akron, they outgained Akron 622 yards to 229.
Yep.
And they had 59 of those, I think, on their touchdown drive at the beginning of the game. They also drove into scoring position in the early fourth quarter, missed a field goal midway through the fourth quarter as well. So that's where most of their yards were contained in those two possessions.
Yeah, so moving to the defense, obviously that's been the biggest talking point about this team, going back to even last year, has been the problems defensively. Ryan Day made the changes after the Oregon loss. We've been through it. Kerry Combs went down to the field. Matt Barnes took over the play calling, or vice versa. Kerry Combs went to the box. Matt Barnes took over play calling duties. So we've seen some things. We've seen some different looks. They're blitzing in different ways, things like that. You've made the point a couple times. It's Akron. But to me, this is a game that feels like they leave feeling confident, happy. And I don't think they felt that way really, maybe against Minnesota, definitely not against Oregon. But even last week, I just felt like everyone kind of knew that wasn't good enough. Today, it felt like Ohio State did what Ohio State usually does when it plays a MAC team at Ohio Stadium, and especially defensively, 9 sacks. They got 2 interceptions. It just seemed more like what you're supposed to do when you're this Ohio State defense. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it looked and felt much better. I think obviously they didn't start off very well with that touchdown drive right down the field, but then they made some great adjustments. And what we saw was their physicality eventually won out. And that's how it should be when you play against Akron. I think Akron had good enough players to hang with them for a series or two, and then they got wore down. And Ohio State was leaning on them. And that front, those 300-pounders were leaning on them and breaking through. And once they broke through for a sack, it was just kind of like the dam broke open. It was one after another. We looked it up. Ohio State's record for sacks is 12 in a game against Michigan State in 2005, I think we said. And this ties for the 4th most sacks in a single game by Ohio State with 9. Pretty good when you consider they only had 4 in the first 3 games combined. Again, they were playing Akron. So are they going to go out to Rutgers next week and have 9 sacks? No. But if they can go out there next week and have 3 or 4 and really kind of impact the bottom line of that game against Vedral, who's a pretty good quarterback for Rutgers and a pretty good team, then that is a great sign, I think. And for Haskell Garrett to break through and Tyleik Williams to continue his progression. Did Williams have 3? Is that what we said? 2, and Garrett had 3?
Yeah.
What a big game for Haskell Garrett. But then again, this was the Haskell Garrett that was advertised in the preseason, and this is the Haskell Garrett they need to have going forward. A guy that maybe he's not going to get 3 sacks every game, but he is going to make game-changing type plays. So again, take it all with a grain of salt. It's Akron, and Akron has now won only 2 of its last 22 games under this coach, Tom Arth, in his 3rd year at Akron. And, honestly, one of the worst teams in FBS. I mean, right, we can't put it any other way than that. But this was the game that was on Ohio State's schedule this week. They've already played 2 Power 5 teams with Minnesota and Oregon, and Tulsa. I don't know what Tulsa did today, but Tulsa was 0-3 after last week. So, but they played Oklahoma State close the week before, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that this was better than going out and giving up 28 points to Akron.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what people want or what people expect. You're playing so many young players. You had so many guys that were unavailable today.
On that defensive line, too.
Yeah, Tyreek Smith, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, all unavailable, all veteran players. Good to get Zach Harrison back. So that was good. JT Tuamalawa played quite a bit. Jack
First
Sawyer
start
played.
for him.
Yeah, first start for him. Jack Sawyer played quite a bit. So, I am somewhat emboldened by what I saw here today. But again, so much more work needs to be done to be consistent. And that's what this defense really needs to strive for. And, we'll see. Go out to Rutgers next week and take your best shot. That's all you can do.
Right. You mentioned the young players. I mean, this defense seems like it gets younger. They get more experience each week, but then a new young guy comes in and makes a play or two. Last week we saw Cam Martinez, Tyleik Williams, who played well today. You saw a lot of young guys because they got up so big. The veteran guy that made noise today was Kayvon Pope without even getting in the game. I don't know. I don't think.
Yeah, somebody asked about an update on the Pope situation. It sounds like his time at Ohio State is over, and the way it was described to me was, he wasn't in the game early in the game, and then in the second quarter, they're up 28-7, 35-7, whatever the score was when this happened. He was on the field, and because Akron had made some change with its personnel, they wanted to go to a different personnel grouping, and so they're like waving him off. And he got stark raving mad that they were pulling him off the field, which you can understand his frustration. He hadn't played in the first quarter, to my knowledge, and now they've got a 28-7 lead, and they're jerking him around on personnel groupings or something. And I know they're trying to match Akron's personnel and whatever. I think the frustration in his point was, I finally get a chance to get on the field, and you're pulling me off. And he had reached his boiling. I think
the senior who hasn't
played much and has been surpassed by Steel Chambers and Cody Simon and Eichenberg and whoever. And so he kind of flipped out, threw his gloves in the stands, and kind of shoved Larry Johnson away. And they sent him off, and he went on up to the locker room and then put out some tweets. And after Ohio State, I think, was one of his tweets, apparently. And Coach Day refused to address the situation, said that specifically addressed Kayvon Pope and whether he's still a member of the team or not. As we understand it, Big Ten Network reported that he's no longer part of the team. Maybe they were just inferring that from his tweets without anything official from Ohio State. But Ryan Day basically said this is a function of the transfer portal, and if you play 4 games, you play more than 4 games, you can't redshirt, obviously. And so he wanted to preserve his redshirt, just as Dallas Gant did earlier in the week. I don't think there's anything culturally wrong at Ohio State. It's just frustration with older players who've been passed over, and it's their time to go. I want to respond to one of the comments that was posted here about Jameson Williams did this at Alabama, and no one wide receiver is starring at Ohio State. I don't even know where a comment like that comes from after a game like this, or after 4 games offensively that we've seen. What we've seen so far is Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jackson Smith-Njigba have all played at an all Big Ten level. And if that's not good enough for some of the people out there, I don't know what you're looking for. I don't know what you think you are expecting to see. Were you expecting maybe one of your favorite players to be featured or something or the other? Because I don't get what that message was about, that they're not featuring one guy. Ohio State doesn't have – Jesus, criminy. They got 3 of the best wide receivers in the Big Ten, probably the 3 best wide receivers in the Big Ten. And you know what? There's only one freaking football. There's only one freaking football. Comments like this are what make Ohio State fans look really poor, in my opinion. And I know it's after midnight. Our nerves are a little frayed by the Pope thing and everything else that's happened today. But I see comments like that. This team's 3-1, should be 4-0 on the basis of the offense. There's nothing wrong with the Ohio State offense. Nothing wrong with the wide receiver group. Nothing wrong with where things are at with this team, at least on the offensive side of the football. So the sooner that person pulls their head out of their behind and gets behind the team instead of wondering about specific players being pushed as stars or whatever, that's what's wrong with college football right now. And we saw today with Hope, and whatever he goes off and does, I wish him the best as an individual. The way he handled it was completely wrong. There's a time and a place and a way that you do things. Dallas Gant quietly walked away from the team, and that's fine. But to read and see some of the comments on here after a game like this, you want me to read you the numbers? Garrett Wilson, 4 catches for 124 yards. What else was he supposed to do? You put him in bubble wrap after the middle of the second quarter so that he doesn't get hurt, so that he helps you beat Rutgers and Maryland and the teams you're playing from here on in. Smith-Njigba, 5 for 93 and a touchdown. Chris Olave had a touchdown. Chris Olave, no catches last week. Dropped one in a position where they could have really used it. Dropped one the week before in a position where they really could have used it. So I don't know who you're rooting for or what you think, but that question, that comment, and it may be replayed on these comments here, completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. I mean, quarterback kid was making his first start today and threw for 300 yards. What do you people want? Eggs in your beer?
Yeah, Jameson Williams. Let's
get out of here.
He wasn't playing here. He's done well at Alabama, and good for him. So, they've got.
Who's your favorite player? Be transparent about it. Put it in there. Who's your favorite player? Who aren't they featuring? Give me a freaking break. Got the best offense in college football, for God's sake. Feature one guy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they're doing the right thing. And
win football games. Win football games. Those kids are going to the NFL. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. With that, let's sign off here. Ohio State, a big one. Obviously, Rutgers next weekend.
Because you're an idiot.
Well,
how's that? Because you're an idiot.
We'll have plenty of stuff for heading into the Rutgers week. Steve, thanks for taking time with us. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys next week. Buckeyes, again, win big against Akron. I think everyone leaves feeling pretty good about where things are. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks again.